Hello everyone, welcome to Digital Recharge. I'm here with Grayson LaFrenz, our CEO. Grayson, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Of course. It is Valentine's Day here at the PDM office. Grace and I are feeling the love. We're here today to talk about paid media, advertising, and basically how to find your best customer, trying to find the perfect match in your audience for your business or product. So without further ado, Grayson, do you want to start us off here?
Yeah, so what we really want to talk about today is how to find the exact match, your ideal prospect. We know with any business, there's different spectrums to the type of client that you're going after, but for most of our businesses, there really is that client that's really in your sweet spot, that generally is the most profitable client and the one that has the highest likelihood of becoming a huge fan of yours and repeat buyer. So really the first step to evaluating the paid advertising networks and determining where to reach these individuals is determining who these individuals are. And a lot of that, just like anything else in life, comes down to really putting some thought into it and developing some personas. So who's the perfect match for your brand? When we're talking about personas, we're talking about who these people are, what are their demographics, where do they hang out and spend their time online. That really feeds into the ideal network and where to reach them. We have a great process for creating personas, but there's all types of ways to go about doing this. We actually have a great partner called Zenzi Communication that does a values-based assessment, which is really their proprietary assessment where you really get to understand the core values that your customers care about and what resonates with them. And the value of really understanding these personas and these values is that A, you know where to reach them, but B, you know what they care about and what's going to trigger them. So once you've really gotten a good feel for that and you have a couple different personas of these individuals that you're targeting, the big next step to understand is the online sales funnel. Different networks for advertising and different ad types are going to really play either top of the funnel, being somebody that's very early stage in that buying process, mid funnel, so they've maybe done some research and they're kind of in consideration, and then the very bottom of the funnel, people that are showing very strong intent to use your product or service and are just about ready to buy. So as you know, some of the ad types are much more top of the funnel versus bottom of the funnel. So now we'll walk you through some different ad networks and ad mechanisms and kind of where they fit on that funnel and how you can reach your Valentine of a customer.
Absolutely. And obviously, I do a lot of paid media here, mostly search, and that's going to be very bottom of the funnel kind of stuff, right? Especially when we talk about audience-centric marketing, so RLSA, demographics for search ads, things like that. That's really going to paint a really honed-in picture of who you're trying to reach, right? So you have search complemented by these other varying degrees of targeting factors. And that's really where you're going to isolate that end user who's probably already done the research. They probably kind of had it in their mind that they want to make a certain transaction or become a consumer in one way or another. And that's where we're going to capitalize there.
And one note on that, to take that a step further, search ads are really powerful in that, for me as an agency, I can target a prospect that's looking for a top digital marketing agency. So they're actually showing that they're seeking out a business like ours, and we can put ourselves in front of them and bring them to the site. Now, the challenge with that really bottom of the funnel prospecting for that client is that everybody wants that. So there's obviously, as you know better than anyone, there's a ton of competition generally around those bottom of the funnel terms. And so sometimes from a profitability perspective, it may not be a really profitable acquisition strategy for your business. And that's where some of these other types of ads and mechanisms that we're going to talk about, they could either support that strategy or it might be harder to figure out how to get it to work in terms of how to connect with that audience and give them that message they really care about. But once you crack that code, oftentimes it can be a lot more profitable way to acquire that prospect.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, that is definitely the inherent challenge as a search ads manager, is these CPCs are definitely on the higher end of the spectrum in terms of cost per marketing. Display ads is something that we also leverage quite often. We typically use keyword contextual targeting, isolating various parts within a certain web page, matching them up in the same way Google crawls web pages in general for SEO purposes, kind of negotiating the same thing, but for keywords that we program within an AdWords account, and then matching ads up with on-page verbiage. We've seen a lot of success with that. We have, a pretty dialed in process for that there. And that's not necessarily as dialed in as search, right? We can't, isolate somebody who's searching for a specific topic, but what we can do is help us paint a better picture of what these people might be interested in. And again, that's more top level stuff, mid funnel stuff. And that can really help us generate more of that search traffic and also more direct traffic, right? So it's more than just the click-throughs that's gonna affect the bottom line from those display ads.
Yeah, and with the display ads too, one of the real critical things, and it goes back to the persona and really understanding our audience, what sites they visit, but also what makes them tick, is the message needs to be super unique. You can think of the display ads that are more top of the funnel, as Ryan said, almost more like a billboard.
Yep.
And if you're driving down the street and you see a general billboard that just says Power Digital, you're probably not gonna even think twice and care. If you see something that is really compelling and hits a nerve with you, Power Digital will make your business more money. Or even something more specific than that, it has a much better chance of grabbing the attention of that CEO that is trying to figure out how to scale up his revenue.
Yep.
So the persona really is critical in going into the ad creative so that we reach the right person in the right spot with the right message.
100%. And to take that even a step further, we can leverage things like HTML5 ads. That ads that have bells and whistles, move, they're just a little bit more dynamic than a standard static banner ad, which can be a little bit more appealing and attract maybe a higher click-through rate. So definitely a lot of bells and whistles there, for sure. But, I think more than just display, I think, 2016, 2017, we've seen a huge influx in social ads. Grayson, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so one of the really powerful things with the social ads, Facebook being the leader, but really we're having a lot of success with Facebook. Pinterest is coming a very long way. It's becoming a huge search engine, in fact. And so there is a lot of people that are more deep funnel on that network. LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram obviously with Facebook. But the beauty here is that we can get incredibly targeted and we can go after that Valentine's Day of a customer, in that the criteria that we're able to target by is far greater than almost any other network. Mm-hmm. So it is more of a display ad in that we're gonna serve it up in front of them and we need to grasp their attention. But with the social ads, they give us a lot of real estate and mechanisms to do a lot of storytelling, more so than a display ad. And we can do things like taking your best customer list and nurturing them and getting them to come back and be repeat buyers, as well as creating lookalike audiences to grow our prospect base. But really, the Facebook ads, they fall on all different spectrums of the funnel. And it really comes down to the audiences that we create within those ads, and then bring in a message to them based on where they are in that process. The way that we speak to a current client that we're trying to get to buy again is gonna be very different than somebody that has never met our brand.
Right.
But Facebook is definitely a really great place for a lot of organizations to find their prospects. Now, one kind of, I think, misconception sometimes with the social ads would be, hey, I'm B2B, or my core demographic isn't on social media. But we're finding with the explosion of social media that it's a much larger age demographic that is now using those different platforms. And what's great is if they're not on there, we're not gonna target them and we're not gonna pay to target them. But we are able to target that audience that is there. Another big part of social ads, as you know, where we've had a ton of success, is with retargeting or remarketing. Where essentially your organization is going to use a pixel so that when people visit your site or view a piece of your content, we can put them into their own audience and now we can nurture them. And so, really we're seeing all these channels, from the search ads that are very bottom of the funnel to the display ads that are more top of the funnel or mid-tier, to certain types of social ads, really get supported with the remarketing in terms of, as long as we bring in great quality the first time, we'll have a really good audience that we can target from there on out.
Absolutely. And a quick Valentine's Day gift, if you will. If you're ever curious if you should run remarketing campaigns or not, something that I implore all you guys to do is jump into your Google Analytics account, take a look at the time lag report, set enough data back, say like 6 months, so you have enough data to really generate an actionable insight here. And then you can actually see how many touch points or how many days have passed since a person first went to your site and then completed a conversion, made a purchase, something like that. So if you're in that report and you see about 90% of people are making conversion or a purchase after their first day of visiting your site, you may not need remarketing. But if that number is only 60%, maybe 55%, you're definitely going to want to make a case for yourself to start remarketing on social ads, on on Google, etc., etc.
Yep, and so now we've kind of touched on your persona, so understanding your customer, who they are, what makes them tick, where they're located. Then the different networks that we can reach these people from top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel to nurturing them through retargeting. The last thing that you really want to evaluate when selecting different networks and techniques to try is going to be the goals. So at the end of the day, what are you trying to get them to do? And this is an area that we see a lot of organizations have flaws in that if you're not tracking those goals very clearly, you will not be able to tell what's working and what's not working. And for the goals, you really need to look at A, what's the end goal and how much is it worth to your business? B, from a cost per acquisition, what are you willing to pay to get a prospect to accomplish that goal? Obviously for an e-commerce business, it's going to be different, and it's going to be more looking at the profit margin in the product that you're selling and the lifetime value of a customer and determining what makes business sense. If you're a lead gen business, you're more going to be looking at cost per lead. If we bring you 100 leads, how many are you going to close and what's the impact on your business? But really getting very clear on those goals and how much they're worth, so that as you start to run these campaigns and refine, you can quickly determine if they're going to work for you or not. We don't want to keep running something when the data shows clearly it's not going to work, and we want to put more money into stuff that is scalable and is growing your business. Right. So really understanding obviously the audience, where to reach them and what to say to them, and then your goals. Once you have a real clear picture of that, it should become very clear to you how to deploy your advertising budgets and get those perfect prospects. 100%,
yeah, and I can't stress enough how important it is to have those goals set up. And even for marketing purposes, if you're an e-commerce store, for instance, and you have somebody that's bought a product from you, the likelihood of them potentially coming back and repeat buying for a different product, probably pretty high. You probably want to be remarketing these people with different products, upselling them, things like that. So, goals are critical, and you definitely need to have these points of optimizations to make sure that you're headed in the right path, the ship's all set, sailing in the right direction, etc., etc. So definitely spot on there.
Awesome. Well, hopefully this helps you some in evaluating these different platforms. We do this every day, literally, both for new opportunities as well as our current clients. We're always looking to evolve the strategy, find ways to reach those perfect prospects more efficiently, and make it really scalable so that your growth potential isn't capped and you don't hit those glass ceilings. So if there's any questions or anything that we can help you with, Ryan and I would love to support you and help do some of this legwork and due diligence for you to find the spot to reach your perfect prospect.
Absolutely, yeah, and if you do have any questions or want to continue a conversation here about this, please reach out, email us at contact@powerdigitalmarketing.com. Grayson, thanks so much, man. That was a blast.
Yep.